Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
You're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. You'll find he is a wizard of Oz, if ever a wizard there was.
Hello and listen, welcome even to the Monday Movie Show. See, 2 seconds, didn't take me long, did it?
No.
Welcome to the Monday Movie Show. Coming up in this week's show, we've got some bit of news, bit of the top 10, and reviews of the following movies.
As you heard in the little intro there, we have Oz the Great and Powerful. So the intro was from the original Wizard of Oz. You have Parker, starring Jason Statham. You have Thriller, Steven Soderbergh's last film, supposedly, in Side Effects. Small drama, Robot and Frank. A small Scottish film in Broken. And an action film, Fire with Fire. And I still have a cold.
Yeah, you're listening to us live. Thanks for joining us. You have got the little red icon in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen where you'll be able to click to enter and join us in the chat. You're listening to myself, Andrew, and with me as usual is Stuart.
Yeah, you heard my voice there, sort of, if you can.
Yeah, who will be struggling to talk throughout tonight's show. But
I think a lot of people are probably jumping for joy at that then.
I'm not saying anything. You said it, I didn't. But let's get straight into the news since we've got so many things to cover. First bit of news I got very quickly is that Danny Boyle's revealed plans to reunite the original cast of Trainspotting for a sequel, hopefully in 2016. In an interview with Total Film, the director stated, "There's always been this long-term plan for Trainspotting 2. If John Hodge can produce a decent enough script, I don't think there'll be any barriers to Ewan McGregor or any of the cast coming back." Well, there will be a couple, won't there, because they died. I think they'll want to know the parts are good, so they don't feel like they're letting anyone down.
Yeah.
He's also said on there about the fact that because there already is a sequel novel to Irving Welsh's original, which is called Porno, which covers, as you may imagine, to do with pornography. But Boyle doesn't want to cover that directly as a straight adaptation, so he wants to maybe do part of that but come up with something new.
What I find interesting is he says he wants the whole cast back and he's not going to attempt this film until 2016. What if something happens to the cast? What if a couple of them are killed during that time? It's a big long distance to wait, isn't it? 3 years before you even start to shoot it. Then give him a good year and a half. So the film is not going to likely be out, depending on when he does it in 2016, until the middle to late 2017, 2018 at the earliest.
Ever the optimist, aren't you?
But still, though, 5 years away before you actually get the sequel, the chances of it happening, especially with that time period, is practically none, I think. It's a bit of a hefty time period to wait before you decide to shoot it.
The thing I'd be surprised at is that, because I mean, you've got characters that died in the original Trainspotting, and some of the characters, the way they were going, if it's going to be set in 2016, so many years after the original one, you'd kind of question it being realistic if they were still alive the way they were going before.
Exactly. It's just if the book itself never got shot as a sequel now already, and it's not already out, then I don't see the point of Trainspotting 2. I just don't. Well, I've got a couple of pieces of news. Mark Ruffalo has confirmed via Twitter that there is no plans for a standalone Hulk film at the moment. The actor said a lot of folks have been asking about the next Hulk. The next time you see my Hulk will be in Avengers 2. No plans for a standalone one yet. I'm not giving up on another standalone Hulk, but it's not in the works right now. One never knows what the future will bring.
Well, apparently he signed on for a 6-movie deal, so I don't buy into the thing that we won't see any further standalone Hulk movies. So, I mean, there's this whole thing of them saying, Marvel saying they're not doing Planet Hulk, there's no plans to do Planet Hulk. I kind of take that as being a little bit of disinformation. I'm not gonna entirely buy that.
Yeah, I smell a rat there, especially considering, like you said, he's got 6 films. He's tied down to do 6, so we'll see. Last piece of news is Robert Downey Jr. has spilled the beans on who director Shane Black went to when he hit trouble with Iron Man 3, and that is both Jon Favreau and J.J. Abrams. The actor said there was a couple of times in Iron Man 3 when our lifeline would call was Jon Favreau. Favreau reached out to Shane a bunch, particularly in the first Iron Man. Then we reached out to J.J. Abrams at one point when we were really confused in Act 3, and he helped us out too.
Okay, so it's Iron Man, directed by I forgot his name, so Shane Black and Jon Favreau and J.J. Abrams.
Partially written by J.J. Abrams.
Oh dear, we're going to get something. There's going to be something in there which will turn up, which is a thing that does something mysteriously and it's never explained.
Yeah.
That's just what J.J. Abrams does.
Iron Man is going to have specific numbers on the cuffs of his feet. And they're going to have some kind of thing in Iron Man 4 where they release like a nuclear bomb which can detonate the entire world or something.
That's a bit excessive, isn't it?
Thinking on my feet. It's J.J. Abrams, so you never know.
Not your strongest suit, is it?
No, well, that's where my brain is, so I think on my feet a lot.
What, your brain's on your feet?
Yes, I'm a weird person.
Okay. Is that your last piece of news, then?
Yes.
Okay, let's go straight on then with the UK Top 10.
Yeah, at number 10, and you went with for Stalker.
Which is a great piece of cinema. It's not necessarily a mainstream film that everyone's going to love. It's rated 18 because it's very dark and involves the subject of killing and deriving pleasure from killing. It's meticulously shot. It is a very visually shot piece of work. So anyone who loves good-looking cinema should check this out. Anyone who's looking for sort of a typical kind of action or thriller or something like that, you won't enjoy it. You'll think it's boring. Anyone else, though, who has taste will love it.
It's absolutely bombed at the US box office. Only took $330,000 on a $12 million budget.
It's only taken just slightly more than that in pounds here.
Yeah, it's taken more here than it has in America.
It is more of an art house kind of film, so to be honest, I'm not surprised at that.
But it's just slightly strange that it's not done very well at all. At number 9, another new entry, Arbitrage,
which is a perfectly fine thriller, which centres around. I almost said Gene Hackman again, and I did that last week. It centres around Richard Gere as the main character, who's a guy in charge of a hedge fund who has had to cover up and rework the books to cover up a massive loss. And it's all about the stress of him dealing with that and trying to come up with a solution to that and other problems. Brilliant performance by him. Decent direction, decent thriller. Not necessarily one to see at the cinema, maybe one to see on DVD.
Yeah, at number 8, a re-entry for Argo.
What else is there that we can say? I loved it. It deserved to win Best Picture, and I'm glad it did.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. At number 7, a new entry for Broken City,
which is similar to Arbitrage in that it is an average, well-directed, well-performed. I mean, it's cast of you got Mark Wahlberg and Russell Crowe and Catherine Zeta-Jones, who is, the three of them are in the film perfectly fine, maybe a bit wasted at certain points and not in it as much as they should be, but it's average to okay. There's no problems with it. It's average at best, and a thriller again. That's, if you're not sure about going to see it at the cinema, unless you're a massive fan of one of the cast, then again maybe wait until it's out on DVD where you'll probably enjoy it more.
Yeah, at number 6, Les Miserables.
Again, like Argo, is there anything more that we need to say about this? It's taken almost £39 million at the UK box office. It deserves to do so. If you're not into musicals, still consider going to see it at the cinema where it should be seen and heard.
Yeah, and it's out on DVD and Blu-ray in the UK on May the 13th.
Yeah, it's not going to have the same punch. It's really not.
Yeah. At number 5, a new entry for Safe Haven.
This is one we haven't seen. It's a romantic drama sort of thing where a woman turns up in a town. She's sort of running from her past, which is mysterious and unexplained. It's one of these ones that I've looked into and I'm aware of. There is a twist in it, which, depending on the things that you've seen before, some will see it coming a mile off.
Yeah, and number 4, A Good Day to Die Hard.
Which is really, in fact, looking at the top 10, it's the worst film in the top 10. And that's saying something considering what's at number 1. It's absolutely terrible. The only thing is, as I say, the only thing it's not as bad as is Taken 2. Everything else, it's just awful. It's not really even a Die Hard film. It's not even a good action film. It's just boring.
Yeah, number 3, Mama.
Which I still haven't seen.
I don't think you will actually see it, will you?
No, not really.
I know you're not a fan of horror, but you will watch some horror films as long as they're like cross genre horror films.
Yeah, this looks to me like being the kind of just simple supernatural horror thing that with nothing that sort of will interest me.
Yeah, that's probably, you've hit the nail on the head if you're into these supernatural horror films. It's got a Guillermo del Toro slant to it. He's an executive producer in the film, and it's based on a short story by Andreas Muschietti, which he did in 2008. It's a good film for what it is. It's enjoyable. And number 2, Wreck-It Ralph.
Okay, yeah, Wreck-It Ralph, absolutely fantastic. Disney's best Pixar-like film, based. I mean, you could say it's similar to Toy Story in respect of what happens to the gaming world when people have gone for the day and in the arcade and it comes to life all its own. And the character of Wreck-It Ralph, who goes off looking to basically find a medal because he's always been the bad guy in the game and hates it. It's well animated, well directed, well written. It's funny. And if you're a gamer, there's loads of little in-jokes in there you'll get too. So there's not anybody, I think, who will go into this and not find something they like.
Yeah, and don't expect Disney to make any more 2D films because they've categorically said no more. They are not making any more 2D films. Every film will be computer-generated ones.
Well, then hopefully that means there won't be any more straight-to-video ones, which means there won't be any rubbish ones.
Yeah, maybe, but that's the end of Disney's sort of like era when they were good at 2D films. Now, I know you're going to hit me for this, but Studio Ghibli is one of the only companies who'll do that, and they've got a new film out in the US anyway on Friday called From Up on Poppy Hill, so I had to get that in somewhere.
And speaking of rubbish...
What? From Up... How dare you?
No, not that. Not that.
I was going to say, do not diss a Ghibli film.
I was leading you into the number 1 film.
Yeah, but that was a bad lead into the number 1 film, especially because then, like, you were dissing a Ghibli film, and that's a no-no when it comes to me.
I wasn't really. Yes, I was.
Yeah, do you think people can't hear you? I could. At number 1, and you went with for Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's got all you need to know. 2 things. One is the title, Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. The second is right at the very start when you've got all the companies that are involved in production. One of them is MTV Films. Really, that's all you need to know. You get the idea what it is. It's just a typical MTV edited action film with action that just, yeah, it's not bad action. It's just really craply edited, unengaging, and characters that you really couldn't care less about.
Yeah, they might as well have had the cast of the Jersey Shore in there somewhere.
Well, that might have made it fun, because I would have been rooting for the bad guys then.
You know what I find really funny, though, before we go off into the reviews, is that they made a film called Jersey Shore Shark Attack, right? And they couldn't even get the people from the Jersey Shore to play themselves in the film. It's that bad that they couldn't
that would
even...
be cool.
MTV...
That would be cool. So the thing is, if you can get the cast of a reality TV show into a film, I would watch it just hoping and praying for the whole time, like, come on, kill them, die, you know. I would want them to be the victims, and I'd want the bad guys to win.
Yeah.
Is that bad? Is that wrong?
No.
Okay, we haven't got an ad this time because we have got so many things to cover this cinema section of the show, so I'm going to go straight into a review of Oz the Great and Powerful, which is the latest from director Sam Raimi, he who did the 3 Spider-Man movies. This time it's a adaptation of the earlier Oz books, with the one that has James Franco playing Oz, who at the start of the movie in the real world, he is a magician at a sort of a travelling fair. He has been sort of womanizing the women of the fair, and comes to a head where one of the fathers of one of the women sort of chases after him, and he then seeks refuge in a balloon, which then gets taken off and gets sucked away by a tornado. And then he wakes up in this mysterious land and finds himself there, where he bumps into, after sort of crash landing, bumps into Theodora, played by Mila Kunis, who is there. She is sort of the one who meets him. She explains to him the whole thing of that they're in Oz, and there is this evil witch who is threatening the lands, and she takes him to the Emerald City, where they are waiting from a prophecy which said that somebody bearing the name of Oz, the same as the place, would be the Wizard of Oz, who would come to save them from the evil witch. When she's there, she introduces him to her sister Evanora, played by Rachel Weisz, who has some misgivings about him being the so-called savior and the wizard of this prophecy. Here's a clip.
Isn't he wonderful? Didn't I say he would come?
You dare escort that oaf in here and allow him to climb on the hallowed throne?
And why not? He is the wizard.
The wizard, or so he says. I mean, did it not occur to you that he might be an imposter, in league with a wicked witch and sent here to kill us?
Wicked witch, don't be ridiculous.
Oh, I'm not the one who's underestimating her cleverness. Or maybe it's you I'm underestimating. Have you finally joined her side, sister?
I am on no one's side. You know that. I simply want peace. It's all I ever wanted, and the wizard can do that. He's a good man.
Oh, what do you know about goodness? Deep down, you are wicked.
You're not wicked!
That temper really is wasted on you.
So the whole thing is that then he goes off on a sort of a mission to try and, after being told that where the evil witch is, and to basically steal her wand, break it, and that will then kill her, and she'll lose all her power and everything and control over the land. The thing of Oz is, right, I am not a big fan of The Wizard of Oz. I'm one of the few people who's not a big fan of it. I don't like musicals, and the original is largely a musical. This one isn't. There is a bit in it when he meets all the Munchkins and they start doing a musical thing, and he's like, hey, stop, take 5. And they stop, and that's it. It's kind of like an in-joke with it. But the film is just done as a kind of a fantasy thing, which I had no problem with. There's a really interesting thing in that it's done with the opening sequence shot in 1:3:3:1, which is the old television resolution, television size, television screen. And then when it gets to Oz, and that's in black and white, it then goes to colour and it changes to full screen. The sound is punched up and sounds amazing. The surround sound is... I hope this gets nominated come next year's Oscars for an award for sound editing and sound work, because the surround sound, and you actually hear things to the side and such, it's absolutely incredible.
Well, if that's the case, then we need a special category at the end of the year for our awards, and it'll be nominated at least for that.
It needs to be noted, yeah. It needs to be noted. It really does. The 3D in it is really good. I mean, there's as I say again, when it changes from the old television size to full widescreen, there are bits that come out of the screen to the sides, and there's a bit when he's waking up and there are sort of like snow falling, and it's falling outside of the window of the screen, which looks absolutely amazing. And there's bits during it that the 3D, I mean, it kind of really did go full immersive once you get to Oz, which is really quite impressive. It's well directed, it's quite funny at points, but not hysterically so. It's quite scary, and it's rated PG. There's moments in it which genuinely made me jump, and it's to do with this sound design. That you hear the flying monkey screeching creature things to the side.
Brilliantly explained there.
I don't know what they're called. They're not flying monkeys, but they're flying apes or something. But you hear them screech and howl to the side, and it's absolutely brilliant. You jump for a second. There was kids in the cinema when I saw it, and you didn't hear it. None of them were crying. They jumped, and then you heard them nervously laughing afterwards. So it all got laughed off. None of it went too far. And it's a brilliant collection of cast as well. You've got James Franco, who I'm not the biggest fan of in acting. He does a perfectly good job in this. Mila Kunis is good in this as well, and undergoes a sort of change throughout the movie when she then starts to chew the scenery intensely. Rachel Weisz is perfectly fine as well, and you've got Michelle Williams in there tying up the cast as Glinda, the Good Witch, as well. So it's a great cast. It's a great film. It's amazing, and it's thoroughly enjoyable and immersive.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to see it tomorrow because I haven't been feeling very well, and so my cinema, cheeky enough anywhere, is it'll be shown at the £2.95. So yeah,
Now,
I'm going to see it tomorrow.
I know you don't like it, but I am going to push for you. Hopefully they're showing it in 3D then. Probably not at that price, but I hope it's a 3D version, because you should. This is one. There's few films that are good in 3D, like Avatar, Life of Pi, and this. If you're not sure about 3D, or you're sort of curious about 3D, see one of those 3 films. This is that good. This is the 3D on that is quite good. It's
£4.50 in 3D, so
I'd splurge for the extra. Come on, Stuart.
What, splurge for the really bad headache after just getting over a flipping cold anyway?
Take some Lensip. You're getting a coffee with it, or tea or something, aren't you?
No, that's the seniors screening of it. This is just my cinema is just really cheap on a Tuesday anyway. So
take some stuff with you, but no, seriously consider seeing this in 3D, because it's one of the ones that it does matter. It does make a difference.
I'll think about it. Right, on to Parker. It's directed by Taylor Hackford, and it stars Jason Statham. I am not going to do the voice. I would kill my voice if I did that.
Jason Statham.
Yeah, he did the voice. Jason Statham plays the lead character in Parker. At the start of the film, you see him dressed up as a priest at this huge, massive state fair where he's deciding to raid it with a group of people. While on the way, sorry for that little cough there. While on the way back in the van itself, one of the people in the van, who's played by Michael Chiklis, decides to turn around and says that there's one more big, massive bust that they're going to plan to do. Instead of them having a share of $200,000 each, which this is what the bust that they've just done there, they will get around about $2 million each. However, Parker, he doesn't want to do this. With them realising he doesn't want to do this, they turn on him, they shoot him, and supposedly kill him. He wakes up in a hospital himself, and then he decides to come up with a plan to hunt these people down to try and stop what they are doing. Their plan is to do this jewellery heist at this huge, massive auction where the jewellery is worth more than $10 million, and Parker decides to go to the city where it's going to take place, hunt them down and stop them. However, to do this, he has to go undercover as this Texas billionaire guy who is going to buy a place I think it's in LA, and he's going to buy a place. The person who he's getting help by, a realtor, is played by Jennifer Lopez. Here's a clip.
Here's the deal. Don't ask me any questions, because I'm only going to tell you what I want to tell you. The man who calls himself Rodrigo took something from me. He's in business with 3 other men. They're here for a robbery, and they're going to use their house to lay low when they're done.
So, you let them steal something. You steal it from them. I help you. And I get a commission. You're gonna kill them, aren't you?
I never said that, Leslie. You did. Civilized people need to follow rules. I'm just gonna put things right.
So let me get this right. This is a Jason Statham movie where he's out for revenge.
Yeah, I know. It sounds original, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, but to be honest, admittedly, that's all it really takes to get me sold, to be honest. Right.
Yeah, well, so the added cast member of Jennifer Lopez is not putting you off.
Well, that kind of does detract from it. I have a question. I was just going to ask, right at the end, sort of how annoying she is and how many shots there are that focus on her butt.
I'll leave that slightly to the end. But yeah, the rest of the film is just, he supposedly gets the help from Jennifer Lopez, as you heard in the clip there, as long as she gets tied in with it. And you can probably guess what happens, considering that it is a Jason Statham film where he gets revenge. It's worse than Liam Neeson getting revenge on people. But yeah, this is I wouldn't say it's a typical Jason Statham film where he gets revenge, because for a lot of it just meanders and plods along. There is two really good set pieces in the start of the film where it's at the state fair, where they're robbing for the money, and it's not given much away because you'll have seen it anyway, and you've seen the setup, the end of the film in the last 20-25 minutes, where it is the jewellery heist. Both of those parts are the best thing about the film. They're handled really well. It flows really nicely. It's just that I wouldn't even say it's a middle chunk. It's more like it's 2/3 of the film. The 2/3 of the film in between just plods along, and it meanders with some like crappy one-liners by Jennifer Lopez and just boredom. Nothing really happens. There is one tiny little action set piece which is a bit bone crunching to watch, and it's a good set piece by Statham. But you're waiting so long for the last 20 minutes to come, because the film itself is on for nearly 2 hours, that you just get really, really bored. And going back to your question, there is very few butt shots of Jennifer Aniston.
Aniston? Jennifer Lopez, no?
Yeah, both Jennifer Aniston and Jennifer Lopez. But yeah, there's very few butt shots of Jennifer Lopez in the film. She's still annoying though. Every single time she speaks, you just want to slap her. She is that much of an annoying actress. But for Jason Statham fans who like his earlier stuff, movies like The Transporter and stuff like that, you'd be very disappointed, because it meanders too long, and it takes too long to get to the last 20-25 minutes, the pair off of the film itself.
The only reason I ask about that with Jennifer Lopez is the fact that I don't know if anyone's seen the poster for it, but it's just on the poster. It's rather strategically shot in a way and photoed in a way that she's standing there, and it's like kind of with all emphasis on her backside, which is supposedly her most insured asset or something.
Yeah, she doesn't pop up until around about 45-50 minutes into the film anyway.
Oh, okay, that might make it more bearable then. Don't have to deal with her that much. I'm going to go on to my next movie, which is Side Effects, which is supposedly the last film by Steven Soderbergh. It is a movie which is it's a drama thriller, which is weird, but it's kind of hard to explain why. It's a case of that you've got a film where a character played by Rooney Mara, she's having issues with her life. She's sort of distressed, and she's basically suicidally depressed. This is seen as early on in the film. She actually gets into a car as she's sort of driving out of the underground parking garage, and instead of driving away, she drives it full speed, head on, straight into a wall. When she's at the hospital, a psychiatric consult is called for, which is by a doctor played by Jude Law, who sees her and speaks to her and arranges that she can be released under the condition that she then does start to actually see him under psychotherapy, to actually go through and discuss the problems that she's having to do with her relationship to her husband, played by Channing Tatum, who is he's just recently got out of prison after a 4-year stint for insider trading. Here's a clip.
I was working at this bar downtown to help pay for school, and he kept coming in after work, and he would just order the most complicated drinks, things that I had no idea how to make. And one night he climbed over the bar and offered to teach me how to make them. And he ended up staying until we closed. And then he asked me out.
And you went?
I didn't know who he was or what he did. He was just this guy in a suit. And watched me while I made drinks, and it made me really nervous. And he stared at me like I was a painting. He had this beautiful sailboat, and he took me out on it, taught me how to ski. He swept me off my feet.
So things then sort of start to kick off, where he prescribes her to take some medication, which is supposedly going to make her feel better. Doesn't really work, so he prescribes to these other ones, and then he prescribes to these other ones called Ablixa, which is a new on the market one which is supposed to help with depression, and it does, but then starts to show that there are problems for Rooney Mara's character as a result of this, side effects, including things like sleepwalking. And it's during one of these sleepwalking episodes that something rather drastic and shocking happens that then takes the movie into a completely different course. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on that because it's kind of spoilerish, but what I will say is that when I was sitting there with the audience, it was dead quiet. The audience were paying attention, and you heard audible gasps in, kind of that kind of a thing. So you get the idea of that it's something quite dramatically bad for that to happen. The thing with this is that it is one of those films, like, you're watching it, things are going on, then something like that happens, and it completely changes direction. It goes completely off the rails as to where you think it's going. It's not predictable. It's extremely well written. It's extremely well directed for Steven Soderbergh. It doesn't suffer from his problem of having 15 different big A-class celebrities. He keeps things to a minimum in this movie. He's learned to do that from... what was his last film that he did that in? We said about that, didn't we?
Wasn't it Magic Mike?
Magic Mike, yeah. He's learned from that to reel back his massive casting of people and to just focus on the main characters. There's great performance from Jude Law in this, who is not one of my favourite actors, I have to admit, but he does a perfectly good job in this. You've got Channing Tatum's perfectly fine as well. The standout for me, as much as I've only seen her in The Social Network very briefly in that, and then in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which I loved her in that, Rooney Mara is the standout of this, and she's absolutely fantastic. She is as good, if not better, than her performance in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, for reasons which will become apparent as you watch the movie and it goes on. You've also got in there Catherine Zeta-Jones, who is perfectly fine, and she's a small throwaway part. But if Steven Soderbergh is going out on this movie as his last movie, he has chosen to do it on a good film rather than a bad film. And it's a really good thriller that should be checked out. Maybe you don't have to see it at cinema. I mean, you see it at the cinema, see it on DVD when it comes out. It'll be just as effective. It's that kind of film that doesn't have to be on a big screen, but it's a fun, good, tense thriller.
Right, I'll quickly go through Robot and Frank. It's a small film directed by Jason Schreier. It's got a small little basic premise. It's set sometime during the future. You're not actually given what time period it's set. And it stars Frank Langella as Frank, and his son, James Marsden, who plays Hunter. He decides to get him a robot because he's on his own. He's supposed to look after him, but to give him some kind of companionship, he gets him this robot, which is just called Robot. It's never given a name during the film. And what Frank was, he originally was this burglar. And so every single time he goes around in shops in his small little village that he lives in, they're a bit wary of what he does. And so he decides to plan a jewellery heist with the robot that he's got. And as you can probably guess, a big massive house not far from where Frank lives gets burgled, something gets stolen, and Frank is the one who is held responsible for it. Here's the clip.
I hate hikes. Goddamn bugs. You see one tree, you see them all. Just hate hikes.
While my program's goal is to improve your health, I'm able to adapt my methods. Would you prefer another form of moderate exercise?
I would rather die eating cheeseburgers than live off steamed cauliflower.
What about me, Frank?
What do you mean, what about you?
If you die eating cheeseburgers, what do you think happens to me? I'll have failed. They'll send me back to the warehouse and wipe my memory.
Well, we're going to walk. We might as well make it worthwhile. Come on, keep up.
And also, during the film, Frank has a sort of like a friendship / relationship of sorts with a librarian played by Susan Sarandon, and libraries have become practically non-existent now because everything is digital. Books are just left by the wayside. And you've also got his Frank's daughter played by Liv Tyler in the movie as well. Peter Skarsgård does the voice of the robot. Does the voice really well, actually. and the whole film is just about a friendship between somebody and an automatous kind of being, a robot itself. It's a small little film. It's only on for about 80 minutes. It's not very long at all. And it flows quite nicely because you're really interested in the relationship between them both. With him being an ex-burglar, you want to find out. It's sort of like when you were young and you look up at your granddad when he's telling you stories about what happened when he was a child. You become that interested in it. You want to find out more and more. And this is sort of like the same. You want to find out how he became a burglar and what did he what did he read and what did he get, etc., etc. Where he stashed all of the things that he stole. Did he ever get caught? Which he did get caught on 2 instances. And so you feel like you're a child watching it, and it's an interesting movie in that instance. It's not going to be for everybody because it just doesn't have like loads of explosions, and it just flows like at a steady pace. There's nothing big, huge, massive that happens in the film itself, but it's a really nice, calm and soothing kind of film where you'll gladly sit down and watch it for the 80 minutes that it's on for.
Yeah, so it's not Robot and Frank as directed by Michael Bay.
Oh God, no! Because it'll probably have like numerous rocket launchers and Uzis and submachine guns attached to them.
I'm going to very quickly go over Broken because I know we're getting short on time. It's a small British film which is directed by Rufus Norris. It's got a few people in the cast which are quite well known, like Cillian Murphy and Tim Roth. It's about these sort of 3 families that are they all live in this estate in North London, and you have the 3 families of a father with his 3 young daughters. You've got 2 sort of older parents with a sort of a teenager son, and you've got Tim Roth's character who has got he is essentially separated from his wife, who lives at home with her 2 kids, one of which is now she's called Skunk throughout the movie, which is just sort of a nickname. It's never really revealed what her full name is, but she's played by newcomer Eloise Lawrence. And it focuses mostly on her because the film starts off with her walking through the street, witnessing things seem to be normal, and she suddenly turns around and she sees one of her neighbours actually attack another one, and things sort of get out of hand, and it's kind of escalates on from there that she is dealing with that as the movie goes on. It's a really quite surprisingly well done British drama between these 3 families, and they're all sort of different things going on behind the scenes. It's shot sometimes that things happen and then you find out how they happened and why they happened afterwards, and it's entertaining enough, but it's not really a cinematic film. It kind of does have a made for TV feel, but don't let that be putting you off because it's got great performances from Cillian Murphy, from Tim Roth, and surprisingly from Eloise Lawrence, she's only sort of 12-year-old or so like that, and she gives a really great engrossing performance. It's a kind of thing you're surprised to see, and I hope she gets to do plenty of work after this film because she's got what it takes to be a good actress in it. So it's a good British film if you're interested in seeing a low budget British film. Again, maybe wait till it comes out on DVD if you're not sure, but one that definitely should be seen and not missed because it's worth checking out.
Yeah, final film of the night. It's Fire with Fire, directed by David Barrett. I'm probably going to get his name wrong, even though you told me again. Josh Duhamel?
I'm pretty sure it's Duhamel, but I could be wrong. Him who is now married to Fergie.
Yeah, I'll go with... Oh, God, poor him. Josh Duhamel. I'll go with that anyway. It stars him. He plays a firefighter, and at the start of the film, he goes into a convenience store. He witnesses the murder of these 2 people by Vincent D'Onofrio's character, and then he's asked to testify against them. When he's shot at by a person who he's put under protective custody by, who's played by Rosario Dawson, he then decides to take it out on the people who shot at him and decides to seek revenge, even though she's not killed, it's just like barely injured. He decides to seek revenge out on them. Now, the cast itself, it is Josh Duhamel and Vincent D'Onofrio. You've also got Rosario Dawson in there. Bruce Willis pops up in a couple of scenes. 50 Cent is in the film. Julian McMahon's in the movie, and Vinnie Jones is in the film. And so it's got a very strange cast in it, and As you can probably tell by the cast itself, this movie is awful. I don't know how the hell it managed to get a cinema release. The quality of the movie itself is really direct to DVD. It's like if you see these Universal Soldier movies or any of these ones. Vinnie Jones, for example, all of his films seem to go direct to DVD. He's probably patting himself on the back now that he's finally in a film. Again, that's got a big screen. It's on a limited release though, but he's finally going, yes, I can go to the cinema to see me on the big screen again. It's been a while since that happened.
It doesn't sound like that.
Yeah, I know. The film itself, like I said, is rubbish. It's shot really badly. The acting is terrible. It flows at such a terrible pace. It's just boring for the 95 minutes that it's on for. The best thing about the film is Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays the main bad guy. But even he is like hamming it up so badly after he was in a fantastic film in Chained.
He does that so well, though. He really does do that so well.
But he's a tattooed up guy who's like this really tough mob boss, and it's just ham beyond ham. I think Tesco's would be really happy with him. There's horse burgers and hamburgers from him. Honestly, Josh Duhamel is terrible. He's not a leading man. Bruce Willis pops up every now and again, and you're expecting him to say yippee-ki-yay or something like that, because his character is such a boring police character. You want him to say something like that just to liven the film up. Rosario Dawson, I think she's probably got all of her script just right next to the camera, so people can, so she can see what she's reading, because it sounds like she's reading off cue cards. 50 Cent is only in the film for about 30 seconds, and that's 30 seconds too long.
Oh.
And Vinnie Jones is just doing what Vinnie Jones likes to do best, be really bloody annoying. And then this, I don't care, I know it's a plot spoiler, but who cares? He gets killed. Whoopee.
Oh. I want to watch it now just to see him get killed. Is it a good death?
No.
Oh.
I know, it's an unfortunate one. So yeah, it's just an awful film.
That's it for the cinema section. We'll be back in just a moment, so keep refreshing your page for the DVD and Blu-ray part.